I was like, well, I already make enough to pay for everything off this. And this is not me trying to virtue signal. This is me explaining how this system should work and how you could take part in it if you're doing the same model. At which point I was like, well, then those YouTube channels, if I want people to edit them in the background or do graphic work for them, by the way, check out Olive. She does all the editing. And also check out Kyle G. He does all the graphics work. Then we should have it in the form of a worker cooperative so that they also have decision making, so that I can't come out there one day and suddenly be like, hey, everybody, I've decided that I don't want to do this anymore. And now I'm all about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Fortnite, or I'm just going to do unboxing videos, or I'm going to talk about different kinds of coffee and how I like to eat it raw. And it's weird, but also, why would you judge? And that's the channel now. They can both be like, well, yeah, but your views are going to plummet as our livelihoods and or the amount of money we're making. So yeah, we'd like to vote that it doesn't become a coffee eating channel if possible. I think that's not a bad idea. Let's check this out. I'm grieved to tell you that Nathan J. Robinson has effectively fired me and most of Current Affairs staff because we were trying to organize into a worker cooperative. This isn't a bit, I wish it was. August 18th, 2021, in the year of our Lord. Dear comrades, we, the former full and part-time staff, write to you with deep sadness and disappointment about recent events that have occurred at Current Affairs. On August 8th, Editor-in-Chief Nathan J. Robinson, author of Why You Should Be a Socialist, very, very good shade. I will give you this. Very good shade there. That is Amy Goodman style. All right. You do not imply the shade. You do not have to be like, he's a fucking hypocrite. But if you just say author of one of the books that he has written, it's just a factual statement. It's up to you to connect the dots now. That's the Amy Goodman style of shade. I respect it. Democracy Now! Shade, you know? Unilaterally fired most of the workforce to avoid an organizational restructuring that would limit his personal power. Yes, we were fired by the editor-in-chief of a socialist magazine for trying to start a worker co-op. Wow. We all joined Current Affairs at different times. The business manager was even hired by the explicit instructions to help shepherd the magazine through the process of creating a more democratic workspace in alignment with our socialist values. The organizational restructuring reforms, we did a full organizational survey and one-on-one interviews with editors and staff to try and find a consensus of a collective vision. Everyone's stated goal, including Nathan's, was to create a democratic workplace where all voices were equally valued. But when we finally got around to discussing organizational models during the Zoom meeting on August 7th, Nathan became agitated. He insisted that our intent to set shared internal values were disregarding his current vision for Current Affairs. As he published in the first issue, there was a palpable shift in his demeanor, and he behaved in a hostile manner throughout the rest of the conversation. The next morning, he started removing people from the company Slack and sent letters requesting resignations, eliminating positions, and had an extra quill pen in his shirt. His hats became more colorful. Suddenly he was dressed and ordained in all velvet. And in some cases, he offered honorary new titles which would have said no in governance. In individual letters, Nathan claimed that he had irreparably lost faith in our ability to work together. But in less than 24 hours later, he sent follow-up mails retracting his statements and admitting that he simply did not want Current Affairs to be a democratic workplace. He believed in his guts that the magazine and media venture we have collectively created was purely his. He wrote, and I quote, "This organisation has been added slowly for some sort of reckoning where it's going to have to make clear what of all kind of authority I want to have over it. I, in denial of the fact that the answer is, I think that one at the top of the old chart and everyone else elected by me should be reporting me. I let Current Affairs build up some sort of egalitarian community, and my friend, well, no, in my heart, I still thought that this is my project which I should have control." Wild. Wild. Absolutely wild. On top of everything else, you know? Like, I can't believe. I mean, first off, the hypocrisy. The absolute hypocrisy. Because if you're going to espouse and speak about the consistent, I don't know, values of upholding the ideals of either strong unionization or worker cooperative or democratically controlled workplaces, then why would you espouse those values? And as soon as it is introduced to you, suddenly think, well, no, but I don't want that, because this is mine. Now, in comparison to myself, because this is going to be the Hypocrite of the Year award, many people help me out on this show. We have mods. I have editors who work on the Other Serfs channel, graphic artists as well. But on a certain level, there is me, Lance, that you see before you, the parasocial Lance, and sometimes the parasocial Chico that you see behind you as well. It would be weird to turn myself, just literally myself and my image, into worker cooperative. I don't know if that would work, You know, if it was like, all right, so I'm selling the rights of Lance. Yes, Lance, and I'm going to distribute that, and we're all going to have equal voting power in that. That would be unusual. So unfortunately, that's not something that's going to happen. But every extension and thing that generates profit, such as the YouTube channels, the Surf Times, Surfs at the Cinema, the Surfs video game channel. What's the other one that we have started? Oh, the Memes and Production channel. All of those are worker cooperatives because they can run very easily as worker cooperatives. You can set the ownership to be equal to all the people who work on the channels, so they all have equal ownership, in this case 33.3% for the 3 people who work on them. You can distribute the profits from those equally amongst the hours that the people work on the projects for, and then anything in addition to, you can put back into the channels, or you can put it to advertising the channels, or even into something fun like mutual aid or charity or whatever anyone needs. That's all doable. It's all very possible. In this case, Nathan started a company. He started Current Affairs, and after starting Current Affairs, he realized that his staff want to run it as a worker cooperative, so they can democratically decide what to do in the workplace, which is something that I'm sure he's advocated for, and yet he still wants to maintain complete and utter control over the Current Affairs magazine itself. All right, I've only started the story. Sorry, I should go through this a little slower. We note darkly that he said egalitarian community of friends, and of course not a workplace. Nathan's overtures since the purge have been reaching out to repair friendships or hastily offer new ad hoc work, but he is fundamentally missing the point that he has effectively fired us for organizing for better work conditions. We are sad, aghast, betrayed, and of course angry to realize that this person we trusted has been lying to us for years. We, a small staff composed entirely of women and non-binary people, have faithfully worked to make Current Affairs a beautiful, engaging leftist magazine, the podcast, organized contracts, and ensured swift payment to contributors, edited the vast majority of articles, conceived the amusements, created the social media marketing strategies, and done most of the work running Current Affairs. Nathan J. Robinson can write articles and give speeches, but when it comes to running an organization, he simply isn't up to the task. As he wrote in one of his emails on August 8th, I think you saw yesterday that ultimately I just felt Current Affairs slipping slowly away from me, and I took an insane course of action to do what I thought would get it back. I'm not good at running an organization. I freely admit to this. We have no better explanation of Nathan's behavior than any of you, but it is clear to us now that this simply was the most extreme event in a pattern of controlling and dishonest actions that began long before this sequence of events and created an untenable situation for his workers. Dave of the Serfs is going to be really upset by this story because he's been a long-time subscriber to Current Affairs. So this one hurts. For a week, Nathan insisted to the board of directors that he would be able to continue running Current Affairs profitably, assisted by a new staff and a promise to write harder than ever before. Since then, he's done an about-face, expressing regret and concern that he has not done the job himself, and the workers he purged are unable to pick up the pieces he so carelessly shattered. The staff was fired without warning. The board attempted to find a suitable severance, but all the affairs assets have been reserved to fulfill the obligations for subscribers and creditors. The compromise position reached is that Current Affairs will take a 1-month hiatus. All the staff, including Nathan and the workers he fired, will be paid through September. We are frankly devastated to lose our high esteem for Current Affairs. The left can be seen as lonely and vicious as anywhere else on this earth, and we love not just to contribute, but shape a place for amity, camaraderie, joy, beauty, and truth. We've been able to make people laugh and think, and most importantly, feel less lonely. We have truly loved working with such talented, curious, and generous artists and writers. We know that this news will devastate people who will be feeling losses of faith, old and new. This feels like a light out. If you want to stand in solidarity with us, please consider sharing this news, emailing messages of support to pastaffairs2021@gmail.com, or adding yourself to our mailing list to hear about our new projects. Thank you so much for your attention and affection over the years. That is, and I'm going to read the next one, so don't worry, that is absolutely devastating, and obviously that is horrifying to have happen in the midst of COVID, in the midst of already uncertainty. Things are not great in the UK as they are not great anywhere else right now. So yes, solidarity. My heart goes out to all of the employees of Current Affairs who have now lost their jobs in this process. That's devastating. That's absolutely devastating. Now, apparently, according to Chud, who is the knower of most things drama, this gets even spicier. So I'm going to now read the official response from Nathan J. Robinson. And by the way, earlier, as you know, I am one to dance around various accents. I think it's quite classist of all of you to associate the waspish accent, you know the one, if it's like, I'm trying to produce a more formal statement about this, but the bottom line is I screwed up badly and did not live up to my values. I feel bad because I think generally we've done a good job for 5 years of making Current Affairs a pretty ethical organization. In a single day, I bungled it and disappointed a lot of people. To always associate that accent with people who are posh and rich, and then accents that are similar to like Cockney vein, stuff like that, are considered to be the lower classes. Shame on you. Shame on all of you. From now on, we're going to switch the accents, all right? And then it is the villains and the villains exclusively who will have the posh Cockney accents. So I guess this one will actually be quite apropos. Is that just Sargon? No, Sargon's a little deeper. Yeah. A nasally Sargon. I was actually going more for what's his name of Mitchell and Webb, not Robert Webb. David Mitchell. Yes. Now, David Mitchell will be much higher. Yes, yes. I've got work to do to rebuild trust, but I'm not sure if CA will survive. As subscribers rightly feel betrayed and we're getting cancellations. I don't blame people who cancel. All I can say is that I've tried hard for 5 years to do the right people who work for us. Yeah, that's a lot more nasally. It's tough to say up there, though. All I can say is I've tried hard for 5 years to do the right people who work for us, and I'm really sad that I did it in a single week. Oh, he's sad. Even though I screwed up, the truth is more complex than I fired the staff of wanting democracy narrative. I've done many egalitarian things with current affairs. I don't earn any more than anyone else. We all get $45,000 a year. I gave up ownership over it. I don't make any kind of profit from it. Anyone can tell you I don't order people about. Everyone works when they like. I've hardly ever exerted authority over it, internally and all. Partly as a result, the organization developed into a messy structureless where it wasn't clear who had done the power and who was much accountability for getting work done. The organization had become very inefficient. I wasn't exercising any oversight, and we were adrift. I did feel bad that it needed reorganizing. Our subscription numbers had not been doing well lately, and I feel I needed to exert some control over the org in order to get it back on track. Corking. Good. All right, love. By Jove. Asking some people to leave and then moving others to different positions. Unfortunately, I went about this in a horrible way and it made people feel very disrespected. Asking for a bunch of resignations at once and making people feel like I did not appreciate their work for the organization. Now, what it sounds like is that he's now trying to flip the script in this one. In that it was just not doing well. You know, things weren't doing too well. Subscriptions were low, and it was because there were no masters. This really was kind of egalitarian, and that was the problem. So it was already kind of like a worker co-op. We just didn't have it in writing, but everyone got the same pay, and everyone could just work whenever they wanted to. So it already was a worker co-op. So checkmate. And then they said they wanted to turn it into the thing it already was, and I was like, oh shit, no. And then that's when I was like, we need more structure, and I'm going to fire all of you simultaneously, and now I retain all control over the publication. That's kind of what it sounds like now, right? I'm not going to do any more accents. We need to get through this. The charge made in a statement by staff is that I didn't want CA to be a worker cooperative. I think this is complicated, or at least that my motivations are somewhat explicable. A worker cooperative has been floated as one of the possible solutions to the structuralist problem. I'm not sure my position on this was defensible. It might have been deeply hypocritical and wrong and selfish, but I will now at least explain how I felt. Since starting current affairs, I have resisted making current affairs owned by staff because I do not want to own it myself, but because I don't want it to be owned at all. I want it to operate as a non-profit institution that does not belong to any particular people. Now, I don't want to be a workplace dictator, and I don't think anyone can say before that I acted like one in my day-to-day work, but I do feel a strong sense of possession over the editorial vision and voice of the magazine. Having co-founded, and you're describing like you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, I want complete and utter control over this magazine, while at the same time I don't want anyone to have complete and utter control over this magazine. You can't. You're conflicting yourself within the same sentence. Plans were discussed for making organization more horizontal in its decision-making. Seemed like they would, 1, make it impossible to fix the structuralist problem and exacerbate the problem of the lack of oversight, accountability, reporting structure, and 2, make it less and less possible for me to actually make the magazine what I think it can be. I felt that without making sure it had the right people and jobs, this was going to result in further disorganized chaos and slowly bureaucratize CA into oblivion, but I did not think I tried to fix that problem in the right way at all. I have never tried to own CA or make a profit from it. This was not about money or keeping people from getting their rightful share of the proceeds. I'm not a capitalist. I do not expropriate surplus value. I have never taken more money for myself than anyone else on a full-time staff got, and they want to do everything possible to ensure fair working conditions. What I did want was the ability to remain the executive director of the organization and be able to have staff report to me so as to make sure stuff was getting done. That may have been wrong, but that is how I felt. Okay, all right. So quasi-honest, this is pretty funny. So everything being said, he can't have it both ways, unfortunately, if he does want workplace democracy. What he could have, okay, and this might be the compromise that they're looking for, unless everything is already destroyed and blown up. But within workplace democracies, worker cooperatives, there can be supervisors, and there can be people in supervisor positions. So what he could have proposed, and it's going to be hard now because he went nuclear. There's no question, right? He went full nuclear. He just just nuked his whole staff and was like, sorry, I don't actually want to do that thing. What he could have done is said, all right, I'm open to this. I've wanted it to be a nonprofit, but if we want to do it worker co-op style, we already get paid the same. How about this? How about we do a worker co-op? I will be the supervisor for the initial transitional period, at which point, like every other worker cooperative model, you will have the opportunity to vote for whom is in charge as the executive editor, or whatever that is. Should you want me to continue on as executive editor after my tenure of, let's say, 6 months to a year, you can vote to keep me in. If you have not liked the direction that I have led the magazine and the rest of you in, then at which point you can vote to take me out. That would have been fine. That would have been well within the bounds of how worker cooperatives operate. Okay, there are supervisors in worker cooperatives. Like, people have to understand sometimes that there are still structures. There are people who do not want to manage other human beings, but there are businesses and jobs that require human beings to manage other human beings. And I'm not saying they need to lord over them, but some people prefer structure. Some people just want to come into the office and be told, hey, today, here's your assignment. This is what you have to do. If you finish it, good. If you don't, well, we'll pass it on till the week after. And they're like, okay, thank you. That's all I want. Other people want to come into the office and be like, you know what? I want to make sure that I oversee this entire project to make sure everything goes smoothly. I want the added responsibility of having to make sure that every single one of these things combines into unison to create this product or whatever we're making. So let's do that. So that is an organizational structure. There are people who are wired that way and want to do that. So you can have both. The difference is the people on the top, the people at the top of the pyramid in charge. It's not just going to remain a board of CEOs, people who may have founded a company sometimes like 30 or 40 years ago, who are so out of touch with the current paradigm that for like you want a good example of this? Look at Konami. Look at the way Konami, and someone is probably going to point out, Lance, Konami is more valuable now than ever before. This is not my point, okay? My point is that it doesn't have to just be about profit. Konami, the owners of the rights to Silent Hill, one of my favorite franchises of all time, okay, decided that after all these shitty Silent Hill sequels, they were going to reboot the franchise from scratch with Hideo Kojima, one of the most brilliant minds in the history of video game design ever. And they were going to reveal that in the form of this new product called PT, Playable Teaser. No one would even know what it was. And then you played it, and you had the ever-loving shit scared out of you for the first time in a very long time. And I was like, whoa, this is a vision. And then you find out the whole thing unlocks this project, this secret project that's going to have all these people attached to it, directors you love, actors you love. Holy shit, Norman Reedus is in this. What is going on? It's Silent Hills? What the ever-loving fuck? Holy shit! This is incredible! Mind explosions all over the place. Like, I cannot tell you how excited I am. And a couple months later, it's like, yeah, the whole thing's been scrapped. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, no, the whole thing's been scrapped. We're not gonna make video games anymore. We're gonna make gambling machines. You know, the ones with all the little metal balls and they fall through the machine. Yeah, the pachinko, because they make more money. So we're gonna license. There's gonna be a Silent Hill one though. Yeah, you'll see Pyramid Head. He'll be in the middle with the balls, and then you can gamble real money for these metal balls, and then you dump all the balls. The pachinko machine. Yeah, it's pachinko. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. Fun for the whole, well, not the whole family. You got to be legally at the gambling age because, again, it is legally gambling. But hey, oh, what's that? All the franchises? Oof. Yeah, we're keeping those. Yeah, no, we're going to hang on to all those. No, because we like them. Because they're ours. Yeah, we're going to maintain all those. So, hopefully there's no games that you really love that we're responsible for. Hopefully. We're not like one of the most seminal video game companies to ever exist, but good luck. Good luck. All right, and now finally, I think our two last things. Statement from the New Orleans DSA. They support New Orleans unambiguously condemns the union busting and worker suppression typified by the recent firing of current affairs staffers by Nathan J. Robinson. Several of those fired are members of the New Orleans DSA. Robinson joined our chapter last year. However, his actions are an open and shameless repudiation of both his ideals and goals of our organization, as well as the standard of behavior reflecting the shared vision to which we hold all members. We stand in solidarity with the staff of current affairs, and we will work to support them wholeheartedly in the days ahead. We also encourage all those who are able to donate to the fired staffers, and we encourage the board of current affairs to stand with the workers. Pretty fucking based. As a member of the Current Affairs Board, I'm limited on what I can say beyond my collective statement below. Other than that, Vanessa B, no way. I'm deeply upset and disappointed by the events that led us here. Please see the statement from my friends and colleagues. Dear readers, we regret to inform you that effective today, Current Affairs will be entering a short hiatus. Below is a statement that our colleagues and friends have drafted on the troubling event that led to this hiatus. Hiatus? Sounded like I was pronouncing this like hyena. We hope that you will take the time to read it. While this was a difficult decision to reach, we believe that it is absolutely necessary in order for the staff and board of directors at Current Affairs to focus on processing and resolving this painful chapter. We as a board remain committed to transparency, workers' rights, and a better, kinder left. It is our honor to share our colleagues and friends' statements with you. Sincerely, the current board of directors. Wow. So all the statements are inside here. I just don't want to open this because it might automatically go to my other account. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. And again, like other people have pointed out, okay, so we live in a society, all right? We all know the meme. Everyone knows the meme, right? But the idea is like this. The idea of YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, any of these social media tech giants, and the combination of leftist politics therein, and then the growth of a certain public figure utilizing those tools. And I know a lot of people associate the first wave with what is now called BreadTube, right? Where we have this basically, this regal six, I'll say the regal six of enormous content creators who are just massive cults of personality, beloved by all, and very good at what they do. No question. I, like most people, have my favorite one. It's H-Bomber Guy, all right? But everyone has their favorite. And they produce, when they make these videos once every 2 to 3 months, they are events. They are events that the whole internet gets ready for. Every streamer like myself, I mean, I'm kind of a hybrid between the two, but every streamer like myself is excited. And then it's like, oh shit, the new ContraPoints video just dropped and we all watch it. And those were the original ones, right? And then there are other facets. There are podcasters. Let us not forget the podcasters. And there are the seldom few who have risen to the ranks, risen so high that they make large sums of money, vast sums of wealth, an accumulation of wealth. Now, has this destroyed leftism? Have they given up their leftist ideals? Is this the idea of the champagne socialist? Because I know a lot of you have probably heard that term, but you've wondered, what exactly does it mean? Well, here's the thing. If you are running a magazine, a podcast, a stream, and it happens to be about leftist politics, progressive politics, you happen to believe in some ideas like you want democracy in the workplace, for example. You want to enhance and strengthen unions. You want to increase the rights of workers. That's something you want to fight for. That's something you advocate for. That's something people pay you money to do, right? In exchange. Like every single time one of you subs to this channel, for example, or any other leftist streamer who's talking about the same things, you are helping me out personally. And you're probably doing that, A, because you like the way I present the news. You might think I'm funny or something like that. I might even give you a giggle or two. And B, you're also like, well, this is a voice for leftism. He's trying to talk about things that I care about. So yeah, let's try to increase that. At first, the content creator, podcaster, doesn't matter who they are, could be someone, like there's a variety of different things, could be someone like Xander Corvus who does sex work. Doesn't matter what they do. They grow to a certain point. And all of a sudden, the first thing you should do, because you're under capitalism, is you should look after yourself. So make sure that you can pay your rent, make sure that you can eat, make sure that you can take care of other people in your lives, dogs, for example. Make sure all that's fine. Once that's done, you do keep growing. It doesn't stop, right? The algorithm, unless you've been canceled or you've been shut down or you've just done something really fucked up, the algorithm keeps promoting you. Friends keep talking about you. News keeps happening. People keep growing and growing. And suddenly your magazine, in this case, becomes something that is very well known. Prestigious even. It's distributed around the world. People can find it across the globe. Dave gets a subscription all the way to Canada. At which point then does that line get crossed? Because you've already taken care of yourself. You've already met your needs. Your needs are taken care of. And I remember I noticed that point when I started a second channel. Because I can tell you this, the first surf channel, like youtube.com/the Serfs TV, the one that we do just comedy and troll and bullshit on, the Hassanabi Slatter and other garbage junk is on there. That makes about $63 a month in ad revenue. Every month, that channel. And it's because I don't upload to it very commonly, in amongst other things. But that is not enough to live off. That's nothing. And I was like, well, okay, that is just going to be its own thing, right? But I do make enough to live off streaming. And then when I started the second channel, the Surf Times, that one, because I upload daily to it, makes a lot more money, to the tune of a couple $1,000s. So as soon as that happened, I was like, well, I already make enough to pay for everything off this. And this is not me trying to virtue signal. This is me explaining how this system should work and how you could take part in it if you're doing the same model. At which point I was like, well, then those YouTube channels, if I want people to edit them in the background or do graphic work for them, by the way, check out Olive. She does all the editing. And also check out Kyle G. He does all the graphics work. Then we should have it in the form of a worker cooperative so that they also have decision making, so that I can't come out there one day and suddenly be like, hey, everybody, I've decided that I don't want to do this anymore. And now I'm all about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Fortnite, or I'm just going to do unboxing videos, or I'm going to talk about different kinds of coffee and how I like to eat it raw. And it's weird, but also, why would you judge? And that's the channel now. They can both be like, well, yeah, but your views are going to plummet as our livelihoods and or the amount of money we're making. So yeah, we'd like to vote that it doesn't become a coffee eating channel if possible. I think that's not a bad idea. And that's not the only thing you can do, by the way. People like, and I know he says a lot of wild things, okay? This is not directly an endorsement of whatever video he's put out lately. But Kyle Kalinske, Cenk, for example, two controversial figures, both of the people who have founded the Justice Democrats. So to them, all of this is more than just a, like, I like the entertainment, or I like to be seen and heard, or I like my opinion to be known. They actually were like, you know what, I actually want progressive politicians to get into office, right? And for better or for worse, this is not going to be an endorsement of every single progressive politician, but I'm just saying, those are people who are like, it means more to them clearly than just, I like talking into a podcast and a microphone for money, is kind of the point. And then we get down to one of these situations like the current affairs fiasco, where I think the idea in principle, maybe Nathan J. Robinson loved it. Maybe he was like, I really want to have a worker co-op, but the idea of losing control over my own project that I started is very scary to me. And even though I advocate that for other people, here's a party note for everybody, because this is actually some hopium. I don't know if everyone here listens to Robert Evans' podcast. It could happen here. If you don't, check it out. If you're in store for some darkness, because the entire ethos of the podcast is basically talking about how horrible things could happen in the United States, specifically the rise of the right and fascism and stuff like that. Anyways, he ends the episode with that same call that most people have when it comes to the environment and that sense of hopelessness. Because when you talk about the environment, it's very easy to give way into doomerism, for example. Because the thing most people don't realize is that when we talk about carbon output, a lot of the carbon that has been put out there, it stays out there. We have to get rid of the existing carbon that's already in the atmosphere. In addition to the carbon, we have to reduce the carbon that we're also pumping out at the same time. Ideas like this where we can't seem to meet either end, and technology like carbon capture, we're not close enough to it yet. So that's also something that we're trying to get to. Anyways, long story short, he ends by saying in that latest episode that we need to concentrate also on the micro level, because we don't think about that. We always think about the big picture, because the big picture is scary. It's visceral. You can see the fires. You can see the smoke. Vancouver is like under a blanket of smoke right now. If you're in California, fuck, if you're in Greece, you know, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you're in China, you're flooding. Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. Could be something related to climate change. You probably want to stop it all. You want to be like, I want to stop the corporations that are polluting. I want to stop the politicians that are giving them all this money and funding, and I want to do everything. But also on the micro level, it's incredibly important for us to do building from the structures from the bottom on up. So when someone shits on you for, say, starting a communal garden, and because the garden is going to be free for a bunch of people, because they're like, oh yeah, enjoy the lettuce revolution, comrades, enjoy the zucchini revolution. That can be a very small part in something known as dual structure building. I'll explain why. And mutual aid as well. If you are building a whole bunch of things that makes people less reliant on systems that have failed them. In this case, if you are providing them with food on a regular basis, they won't have to work those extra hours to buy that food, which means they might have extra hours to strike. They might have extra hours to join a picket line. They might have extra hours to start a general strike or to try and unionize in their workplace for the first time. If they don't have to worry about rent because you bought a giant worker housing dwelling where a whole bunch of people can live cleanly and shower and stuff like that, and they all just work communally towards ownership or something to that effect, that gives them more time again to not have to worry about having to pay their rent, get evicted, so they might have more time to unionize at work. And in that sense, you grow power. They might have more time to form worker cooperatives. So there might be more democratic decision-making at a smaller level. that grows outward. And that's something that people often don't talk about, because we always look at the perspective of the huge big bad guys, the giants, the corporations, the globalists, the imperialists, all that kind of stuff. And that is true. That is a collection of all of this. But when you reduce it to the micro scale, that is very important as well. That's my TED Talk.
Hello everybody, my name's Connor. I run the Progressive American YouTube channel and podcast. If you are looking for a podcast or YouTube channel that does video essays, interviews, and history from a progressive perspective, I'm your guy. Please don't hesitate to contact me on my Twitter account at editor_Kelly, or you can reach out to me on my Medium page. Simply look me up as Connor Kelly. I look forward to hearing from you all, and thank you very much for your time.
Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account, because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks, why do older generations believe the things they believe? One of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our gods, Tigro and Payton El Jus, we pray to you, our sky daddies, to keep us safe from harm. To our monarchs, Tom Spiker and the Tim Caucus, we shall humbly clean your golden toilets in your spatial palaces. To our lords, Ultra Wolf, Evan Nudie, Trevor R., Alexander Thaler, Ryan Lubin, and Jeff Lamb, we are eternally grateful for this small segment of land for us to toil and work. To our knights, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Val 9000, Jenna Tall, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Sharon 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Catherine, Phone Jenny, Radical Maniac, Ramona Costa, Jimmy Bignuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Jopi, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our glasses, we raise our swords, and we salute you, our friends. And to Lance, you are the wind beneath my wings.